Hi, this is Joe Banye from FastPitchPower.com, and in today's video I want to provide some evidence behind the exercises that I use and believe to be the most beneficial for softball players, specifically for shoulder health, injury prevention, and specifically for softball pitchers. Okay. First, when we're determining whether or not an exercise is softball specific or sports specific in general, what I as a fitness professional and what rehabilitation professionals have to do is look at the sporting movements involved, so the movement of the skeleton. We then also have to look at the activity of the muscles, so how hard the muscles are working, how fast the muscles are working, and most importantly probably are the teams of muscles, okay, so how the body collaborates to perform the movement. Okay. Now, we can look at the sport with our own eyes, talk to skill instructors to get a sense of exactly how the skeleton's moving or needs to move to be efficient in the actual sport-specific skill. We have to sometimes look to research to get a closer look at the muscles involved and the muscular activity involved. Okay, how hard the muscle is firing, how fast the muscle is firing, again, what teams of muscles are collaborating to perform the movement. The windmill sequence really can be divided up into three phases at the arm, okay, and that's from, if I'm a right-handed pitcher, is from 6 o'clock, okay, to 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock, back to 6 o'clock, and then from 6 o'clock to follow through, from release to follow through. So those three phases are going to be critical for the remainder of this video. 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock, back to 6 o'clock, and then 6 o'clock, or release to follow through. Researchers have identified three key instances in that sequence at which the muscles around the shoulder fire the most, okay? And this, what I'm about to say now is also really important because the researchers have investigated the muscular action at the rotator cuff, okay, which shouldn't be mistaken for a rotator cuff. Because the primary purpose, as research is shown, and I'm going to tell you now, is that the rotator cuff has nothing to do with rotating the shoulder. So exercises, okay, like TheraBand or light band exercises, okay, or light dumbbell exercises, really does not train the rotator cuff as it's utilized in sports-specific movements. Again, I'm taking this information from published research. I'm not making this up. Okay? The rotator cuff is most active. Rotator cuff and assisting shoulder stabilizers, deltoids and the biceps. Rotator cuff, deltoids, biceps are most active in three phases of delivery, or three instances in delivery. One in the overhead position, okay? Two at about 9 o'clock, and three just after release, okay? From release to that initial deceleration of the shoulder. At those three instances, let's look at what the muscles are attempting to do during the delivery. Okay? If I'm here during the delivery, if I'm at 12 o'clock and I cut off power to my arm, right? So I flip the switch off. Where would my arm go? Would it drop to the ground? No. It would go out of my body because the arm's coming up and flying up into the sky. These muscles in the back of my shoulder, the rotator cuff, the deltoids, are firing to keep that shoulder compressed in the shoulder joint. Okay? Now, again, that's combining what we see with our own eyes and what research shows us. Okay? If I cut power as my arm travels above my body, the arm's going to fly out of the shoulder socket. Research tells us the muscles there are contracting, the muscles in the back of my shoulder are contracting the hardest. What are they obviously doing? They're holding on for dear life. Same thing happens at 9 o'clock. As my shoulder would go this way. Right, specifically in this instance, it's going to be the biceps muscle, which actually, the biceps muscle fulfills two roles because it crosses the elbow and it crosses the shoulder. But when we traditionally talk about biceps training, what do you see in a fitness program or rehab program? Dumbbell curls. We know the biceps, now this is how research is misapplied. We know the biceps is involved in pitching at this instance. We know the biceps, according to our textbooks, does this. Okay, so that's how we're going to train it. It's a really incomplete approach. The bicep shoulder also crosses the shoulder joint, and in this position, okay, if I cut power to the shoulder, it's going to fly out of the shoulder socket backwards horizontally and probably toward the ground. Yes, the biceps is contracting to keep the elbow in place, but it's also compressing the shoulder. It crosses the shoulder joint. Okay, it's a shoulder stabilizer. So that's the second instance. The third instance is just after release. Okay, again, look at the position of my arm here. If I cut power at this instant, where's my arm going to go? It's going to fly out of my body. So all the muscles, again, at the third most important position during the delivery, are firing the hardest okay? Not to do this or to do this, okay? But to keep the shoulder in the shoulder socket, okay, and not let it fly out of my torso.